everyone, my name is Nathalie Delebois.
My name is Pandi Ginger.
Sinead O'Donnell.
My name is Andy Bryant. In less than 60 minutes, we'll discuss how companies need to pivot their recruitment strategies.
From the initial job advertising,
Processing the application,
Candidate pre-selection,
And most importantly, the job interview.
to the final hiring processes.
I'm also looking forward
to taking your questions on our live Q&A.
We're starting in about 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. After 40 sessions, welcoming 4,000 participants from all over the world, we are honored to continue our second season with none other than Amazon, Bitfire and recruitment on the topic of the art of digital recruitment. How to hire the right people online. A little bit about our fantastic speaker's background. Andy Bryan leads Bitfire Europe, Japan's #1 cryptocurrency exchange, and his career and education has spanned many aspects of finance and technology, including as a CEO of his own AI tech startup. Andy is a Japanese speaker and has a passion for all things crypto and blockchain related, regularly writing on the topic. He studied robotics in Japan and authored prize-winning research relating to decentralization. The EU Recruitment Advisors is an award-winning recruitment boutique led by both Nathalie Delebois and Sinead O'Donnell. The company has been created back in 2008 in the midst of the financial services crisis. Sinead is an expert in identifying and attracting the finest talent by using her extensive and detailed knowledge of the Luxembourg employment market. Natalie's experience resumes in leading positions in hiring and recruitment and acts as a co-president of the Federation for Recruitment, Search and Selection. Hande Gunder is the leader of executive recruitment for Amazon Web Services. Previously, she was responsible for executive recruitment efforts across all Amazon businesses ranging from customer and operations to Amazon Web Services. Throughout her 5 years in the company, she also headed critical diversity initiatives, training and organizational structuring efforts. On the moderator side, we have none other than my dear colleague, Alex Panican, Head of Partnerships and Ecosystem Development at LHoFT. Prior to joining LHoFT, Alex was Marketing Teaching Associate at the University of Quebec in Montreal, and a serial entrepreneur creating companies in the space of e-commerce and alike. At LHoFT, he's been traveling the world, connecting fintech entrepreneurs with the local ecosystem, and has been a master of ceremony interviewing thought leaders from all walks of life. We are also the pleasure, and we do have the honor to be joined by Laurent Porsche, head of the employment services, that will be joining us during the Q&A. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex, the screens are yours.
Thank you, Anthony. Very energetic introduction as always, but you have to stop to saying that I travel the world. Nobody's traveling anymore, but thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Thank you to be with us for our third masterclass of the season. So today we're going to talk about talent. As you know, recruiting the right people is the most critical element in your organization. Not only you need to recruit the right skills to build and to grow your organization, but recruiting the wrong people can maybe even kill your organization if it doesn't have the right culture fit. And it's even more challenging today because, we have to do it remotely. So how can you have a recruitment process online, an interview online? And to have the answer to those questions, we have amazing experts from the industry, coming from technology, coming from fintech, and from the financial industry to answer these questions. So I have like 20 questions prepared for them, but please bear with me. Just drop your question in the forum so you can also interact with them. And the goal is to learn from them as much as we can today. So without further ado, please, let's start with Hande. Hande, thank you so much for being with us today. Can you quickly introduce your organization? Because maybe people don't know Amazon, but also what kind of profiles you are looking for. And tell us everything as an introduction about Amazon, please.
Sure. So when we are talking about Amazon, unlike common knowledge, actually we are talking about 4 different businesses. They are quite separate from each other. So we have the consumer business, Amazon, that we know of. That's one business. And actually all those businesses, they don't merge until at board level. We have a device business where we have Echoes, Alexas, Kindles, and Fire phones, Fire tablets. We have a digital business where we have the Amazon Music and Prime Video. And then we have cloud and infrastructure, which is Amazon Web Services, AWS. So that's how the company is structured. And when we are looking for talent, actually, those different businesses are doing such different things that the type of talent we are looking for each business very significantly as well. One of them is deep tech with a commercial slant. The other one is more of an analytics business. When we are talking about Amazon Consumer, we are not talking about this color-first CPG world. We are talking about analytics predominantly. And then we have the digital business, incubation of all new businesses. And when we are talking about device, it's more like more a CPG business, actually. So that's more or less the picture on our side. And when we are looking for talent, we are looking for all kinds of talent in the organization, from tech to non-tech, depending on where we are going to place this talent. That's more or less how I can summarize.
Okay, interesting. We will go more in deep into that. Let's stay with the ladies. Sinead, maybe you can also explain what Dio Recruit is doing, please.
Well, Dio Recruitment, we're a local agency in Luxembourg, and we recruit for the Luxembourg niche market. We work for a cross-section of clients. We work for a lot of the major players as well as small organizations. But I would say that we work predominantly within the financial service space. So 80% of our clients would fall under financial services. What does financial services mean today? We work in a lot of regulatory positions, compliance positions you love very much, Alex. So we look at recruiting around 100 people a year for our clients. This year we may be slightly down, but hopefully we'll be back on par again.
Okay, we'll get back to that. The last but not the least, Andy, Bitflyer. I'm pretty sure people don't know maybe Bitflyer. You guys are a specific animal into the fintech industry.
Sure. Thanks for having me and for the great introduction. It's great to be here today. So I'll just briefly explain the company and then I'll give a roundup of our sort of HR system. So Bitflyer is Japan's largest cryptocurrency exchange, headquartered in Tokyo, founded in 2014. We grew to be the market leader in Japan for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency exchange. And based on that strength, we expanded into the EU market, which is run from Luxembourg, where I'm sitting. We also have an office in San Francisco to cover North America. So our business is to help our customers buy, sell, hold, spend, and custody Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. We also have a blockchain sort of research division and also a small payments business in Japan where we partner with retailers to accept Bitcoin in stores. Our customers are generally sort of retail as well as professional traders. So we have ways of buying Bitcoin with your credit card on your phone, sort of easy sort of buy-sell options. But we also have a more sophisticated trading platform for pro traders. And those are the kind of guys who are buying and selling several times a day, trying to profit from price movements. So here in the EU, we mostly hire sort of compliance, marketing, admin roles, as well as operations and customer support. We don't have a big development team because that's still handled in Tokyo. So this is more of a sort of compliance and onboarding and marketing function that we have here in the EU, and it's the same in the US as well. So that's a quick roundup. I think we're not sort of nearly at the kind of scales of Amazon, obviously. Cryptocurrency and blockchain is a cyclical business, and we respond to sort of market growth. So depending on any sort of month, 1 month we may be hiring 5 or 6 roles, but then we may go 2 or 3 months without hiring anybody at all. So it really depends on the dynamics of the market.
Okay. Because I'm anticipating people asking you on the forum, should we buy or not Bitcoins? What do you say?
Oh, well, do your own research, but I myself, I think long term, Bitcoin has a bright future.
Okay, you dodged the question. Okay, compliance reason, perfect, good. So Andy, I will stay with you. So what's your recruitment process, and did you change anything in your recruitment process due to the sanitary crisis we just faced?
Sure. So actually, COVID didn't really change what we were doing so much. We were already sort of very much a digital pipeline. I mean, okay, yes, it may be less face-to-face meetings, which is a shame because that's obviously a very good way of getting to know people. But in terms of sort of pipelining and managing the process, we still use the same kind of practical, affordable tools. We generally have a lot of inbound leads. So people kind of reach out to us because they want to get into the space and then the crypto space in general. Our most successful channel is actually people that we've sort of got to know over sort of the last few months. So people that we've kind of pipelined previously. And actually, all of the people that we hired during the lockdown were people that we already knew. So they weren't kind of new people at all.
But how do you know those people? I mean, what are your channels and what are your tools?
Well, we would have found them just through sort of lead generation, earlier in the year, or we might have met them at some of our events that we used to put on, physical events, or indeed our webinars. In fact, some of our best employees are people that sort of met us at a like a seminar that we put on or some sort of events, even overseas. We have a lot of people that kind of come to Luxembourg to work for us. So there's only like probably less than 20% of our entire team were kind of here in Luxembourg at the time they applied. A lot of trailing spouses as well, people that came to, with their husband who was working for the ECB and, they're looking for something interesting to do. And then, we use the sort of typical channels. So we have the ADEM job board. We have our own job board that we think is quite important to manage our own. We use social. We use obviously LinkedIn, which is kind of monopolizing the market these days. And then as well as the events and sort of community nurtured leads, because we think especially for us, people who are most interested and most effective in this job are people that are already kind of active in the startup space. They're already into blockchain. So we, it's when we go out and sort of actively try to headhunt people and pluck them from other industries, then we generally have less success with those roles, compared to the people who are already sort of in the community. So we try to focus a lot on community sourcing as well as other channels.
Okay, interesting. So so events can also be let's say a pipeline for you to get leads. Okay, interesting. Perfect. Hande, I'm sorry, I'm jumping to you right now. So go ahead, Hande. What's your recruitment process at Amazon? I mean, you've got your website, of course, but what are the tools you are using? And I know you guys have like 8 rounds to select somebody, so just please tell us.
No, let me tell you. Actually, there are different types of recruitment processes for different types of levels of seniority, I have to say, that we are hiring for. So there is the student programs organization that's hiring fresh graduates or, fresh graduates predominantly. And then we have the experienced hire team, which are hiring for people with some years of experience. And then we have executive recruiting, which is hiring for the top 2 levels across the organization. And all of those different teams are utilizing different processes because we are trying to reach different populations. So when we are talking about student programs, campus recruitment comes into the picture, really going in, presenting, and then making sure that we are building the right network is the important part. When we are talking about experienced hires, we use 2 methods. One of them is through job advertisements. You might be seeing it on LinkedIn and everywhere. The second way of doing that is actually a research organization proactively going out and sourcing candidates. There are some difficult roles where you cannot get the traction you need through advertisements. And then when we are talking about executive recruiting, we never publish any role we are working for in executive recruitment. It's pure research, pure proactive outreach. So the ways we are dealing with recruitment are all different, but actually the process itself doesn't change much. The content changes, but the process doesn't change. And actually it's an intense process, but it's not a never-ending, like interview after interview type of process either. So there are 1 or 2 initial discussions with the closest people to the role. One of them is usually the hiring manager of the role. The other one is someone from HR or a peripheral organization head that's going to work really closely with that person. And then after that, we go to the famous loop. And the loop is this very structured process where the candidate meets all of their potential stakeholders one by one in 1 to 2 days' time. So it's compact. It doesn't take ages, but it's very intense sets of interviews. And the philosophy behind it is, I think that's what matters. It is Amazon is trying to actually reverse the linear recruitment process. What's a linear recruitment process? Whenever you are interviewing for a job, you go and interview with someone, 1.5 hours, you explain yourself, and then that person lights a green light or a red light. If it's green, you go and meet another person, another 1.5 hours, and then green light, red light. This is iterated again and again, 5, 6, 7 times.
And the red light stops you? The red light stops the process?
At any point can stop you.
Okay.
So the thing is, actually, in the end, when you're hired on the basis of 1.5 hours interview content, because you explain yourself again and again to every new person you meet. And the process is vulnerable because at any point, because of chemistry mismatch or anything, someone can light a false red light and the organization just loses a talent. So in Amazon's process, how it works is, in the loop, if you're meeting 8 people, none of those people have any veto right or hiring right, including the hiring manager. So it's about, and every single person is assigned a specific topic to discuss. So they just dig into one aspect of your career history. If it's hiring and developing the best, that entire interview is around how you hire people, how you develop people, how you manage your people through times of success, how you manage your people through times of crisis, like you and your people. If that person is assigned customer obsession, it's all about you and your customers, how you deal with your customers, how you go the extra mile, how you deliver bad news, how you deliver good news, like everything around customers. So in the end, what we do is we bring all those people that interview around the table, and then there's a debrief. Everyone, for the first time around that table, sees the full picture. By then, they will have submitted their feedback with regards to their specific topic, but only around that table, they see the full picture, and then a collective decision is made. So when the decision is a go decision, a hiring decision, actually that decision is made on the basis of 8 hours of interview content rather than 1.5 hours of interview content. That's more or less how it works for every single one.
Amazing. That's very refreshing. In fact, that's the first time I'm hearing about that. Maybe we can jump on the recruitment. Sinead and Natalie, first of all, how do you recruit for your clients, and what do you think of the approach of Amazon? Please go ahead. I cannot hear you. You are on mute, Natalie. Okay, I can hear you now.
Great. So the recruitment process at DO is driven by the desire to find the right person first. And we absolutely need to define the profile first. And it starts with the writing of a job description, because only top job ads can attract top candidates. So that's where we start. And then the recruitment process is quite traditional. We need just to define the sourcing strategy, also as Andy said, depending on the profile, on the level, on the seniority, on the skills we will have to find. And then we need to start the attraction process. And that's where it's probably challenging, because there are so many tools today that we have to use to find to attract the right talents.
What tools are you using?
We use everything we can. So I must admit that at DO, traditional job boards are still successful. In our statistics, it's still #1 in the sources of candidates. So we have partnership with I don't know if I can mention them, but specialized job boards like even e-financial careers, or job boards abroad if necessary. We buy a database in Europe, everywhere. So I think that we use every single tool we have at our disposal to attract talents. But I think that the most important today to attract talent is to have really good recruiters on board, because the recruiters need to market themselves. Because if you want to attract top talent, you need to be good promoting yourself, and especially when you have to use social medias. And we know that millennials and Generation Z, we need to attract them to social medias. And I don't only mention LinkedIn because we use Facebook a lot. Because I think that for this young generation, there is no real borderline between private and professional sphere. So we discovered that being present on Facebook was good as well.
Amazing. If I can stay on Facebook for 1 second, I mean, what do you do on Facebook? You publish the job openings, or you?
We have a high respect for private life on our side. So we are only post or we communicate a lot. So we try to communicate qualitative content on LinkedIn, on Facebook, sorry. So LinkedIn, by the way. And so that, you know, we are more attractive and appealing for young people. But that's the way. We use Twitter a lot as well. We have the odd job of the day. So we try to tweet as much as we can. So I think it's really part of the strategy today.
Do you see a shift from the job boards that you mentioned to the social media?
Sorry, Alex?
Do you see a shift in your strategy? You say, okay, job boards still make sense, it's still the #1 lead generation for us, but we shift quietly but surely to social media. Isn't that what you're meaning? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Because if I look at the fields I have in front of me, social media, it's on our side, it's only 15%, where traditional job boards are 30% of their key channels we use. But it will change for sure in the next coming months or years. For sure, it will change.
Okay, and I'm gonna jump on what you said for Andy. Andy, what kind of websites are you, because you guys are in such a niche? I understand that you do events that bring the right people for you to source, which makes sense. But if you have a job opening, you really need to recruit. What kind of social media maybe you are using, but also maybe some specific website in your field?
Sure. Actually, I think I'd like to kick this over to my sort of HR manager, who's also on the line, Miguel.
Miguel, good.
He's even better at answering this than I'll be.
Miguel, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, pleasure meeting you all. Thank you for bouncing the question. So to be very specific on the channels, your question is about the specific channels that we use within our community, correct?
Yes.
So with all due respect, I'm going to mention them, but for instance, one of them is Cointelegraph. It's properly directed. We have business with them. We use the Let's Block also as well, channels that are offered for us because we're part of them. The Paper Jam as well, it offers some possibilities. All of them are very technical. I'm only replying about the technical ones within our field. Okay.
Okay. And how do you do the job posting? Yeah, are you trying to be? How do you differentiate yourself?
I'm gonna recover what the members from DO said, and we start from the very beginning making the job descriptions, even if they're not what the job posting includes. So we start from there, understanding what the internal client needs and how it's going to be defined according to our needs and our manpower capacity, and then we derive that into the posting. What makes us different in the posting? Well, actually, what makes us different is only that we have thought which kind of message we're going to broadcast. Beatflyer needs to keep it corporative, especially because of what conflict of interest can be present at the moment of publishing something, as we're a financial institution. So our message is not very different from anything. Which institution are we? What highlights us and what is important for us? What can make it attractive? Job position, and which one would be the kind of work that you would have in our company, considering the fact that we are a startup. I mean, the organizational conditions. So the fact that we're a startup, that we're a small company, that we have a lot of challenges, and also that it's going to be a thrilling adventure where probably your box is not very we will need a lot of adaptability.
Okay, I'm going to stay with you, Miguel. Okay, you job posting, and then what happens? What's the selection process you guys are doing?
I'm gonna disclose this with my boss in front, so I'm gonna have his permission to do so. So our process is very simple. So it's just 3 stages: HR, division, and management. Now, I don't think this formula changes too much, as they were talking in Amazon. In the end, even if it's several steps or different ways of approaching it, it's more or less the same kind of faces of people to see. The particularity of Bitflyer is that even if it's just only 3 stages, these stages take a very, very long time. Okay?
How long?
Something that we are, to a certain extent, proud of.
Okay. How long does it take, the process?
So we have a medium, right now we have an average of 2.5 months, but I'm giving you the indicator. This indicator is very volatile.
Okay.
In our case, as a startup, okay?
I'm surprised that you said that you are proud of it. I mean, if I wanted to work with you guys and for you, I will apply. I would like the process to be faster. So why are you proud of taking longer than?
Because Japanese companies are like Japanese car makers. It might take a long time to produce one car, but once it's already out in the market, it won't come back to the mechanic.
Boom.
This is
Good.
This is why our selection process, it takes long. Is it painful? Yes. Is it painful? But we do this because we like lots of quality circles around each one of the candidates that are being evaluated.
Okay, so let's say
the cost. The cost of a bad hire for us is pretty high, right? We're a small team. We need really great people, right. And so sometimes we have extra stages in our process. For the more senior hires, for the executive hires, it even goes beyond like management at the EU level, but it even goes up to sort of Japan and sort of the founders and shareholders. When you don't enjoy the employer branding of, say, like the Amazons of this world, like, we do need to like pay extra attention to find like perfect people, or at least like people who are like really, really have the right aptitude and sort of a cultural fit. And that's kind of thing that's not very easy always to see on paper. You really have to kind of meet them and find them in the right way.
So that's let's jump on that. Let's jump on the pain subject. How do you run the job interview? What are the questions you guys are asking to the interviews? And I mean, who's asking the question? Is it the manager? Is it? Tell us a little bit more about the job interview. What kind of question for you are essential to see if there is a culture fit beyond just the skills of the person?
Okay. So I'm not going to go into details specifically. I'm just going to tell you a philosophy of this recruitment process in Bitflyer. Regardless of what the candidate believes, they're responsible of whatever happens inside the interview period, inside the interview window, is the selection person, is the recruiter. So we have a semi-structured interview, and basically we target getting to know the person, their knowledge properly in terms of technical, their adaptation, their knowledge of our company. They did a good research on understanding who we are, and maybe it's not necessary that they're 100% proficient on that, but at least that they took care of knowing what they're applying for. And in the end, their culture fit. So getting to know them properly, transparently, and put them against the wall to understand them. That's what leads the questions. And then, of course, according to the stage, they vary. So HR focuses on everything. Division focuses on the technical knowledge, and management focuses on adaptation and in their capacity to see future development within the company.
Okay, interesting.
But by the time people get to my stage, like, we pretty much know that they can do the job, that they have the right technical skills and knowledge. So it's kind of comes down to me to make sure that they're a good fit for the culture and that they show all of the sort of softer qualities that we're looking for. So basically able to adapt to like an ever-changing environment, able to adapt to new challenges, curiosity, sort of person that can go out, spot a problem and then go out of their way to identify it, come up with a proposal and bring it to management without being like officially assigned top down for these types of things. So we look for these kind of problem solving and multidisciplinary and curiosity and critical thinking skills in these kind of final stages, just to make sure they'll be happy here.
So what would be the right approach, Andy? And before you answer my question regarding the approach you expect from the interviewer, what's the key question you ask? And do you have any, maybe you don't want to share it because maybe people will hear and they will prepare for the question, but do you have any tricky question you like to ask?
Yeah, there's a couple I like to ask that are kind of tricky. There's one that I borrowed from Peter Thiel, which is, in your opinion, what would you consider an important truth that very few people agree with you on? Because that it's a difficult question to answer that. If you've got a good answer to that question, then you might as well start your own business. But it kind of probes for independent thinking. Another one I like to ask is, if you owned a giant billboard and you knew it was somewhere that millions of people would see it every day, maybe it was like in Times Square or next to a big highway, and you could put anything you want on this billboard, what would you put on it? And yeah, these are like two of my favorite questions, as well as things like just what are your values, like what are your personal values, what do you believe in? And those are the kind of questions that people can't prepare for, and so that's why they're like my favorite, because you can always tell when people reel off a sort of pre-prepared.
If they fake it, or yeah.
Yeah, it's a good insight into the kind of character they are.
Do you have the same easiness to do these kind of interviews online, that just having the people in front of you? I mean, body language is everything. How can you detect those small? I'm gonna stay with you, Andy.
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously, face-to-face communication is unparalleled, and it's not quite the same on video, but actually over the last few months I think everyone's getting a bit more used to it, so we can maybe, it's a imperfect but suitable substitute, I'd say. If it was an important hire and we were close to making an offer, then despite COVID we would probably still take someone out for dinner, wearing masks or whatever, and at least meet them in person at least once before we send them an offer. Because you're right, there are certain elements.
Just to make sure that they have pants on, because you can never tell.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you so much, Andy. Very, very, very interesting, in fact. Andy, coming back to you, I mean, the process was so again, also very interesting. Is it any kind of key question you guys are asking at Amazon to see the culture fit, or what kind of, let's say, behavior you expect from the people you interview?
So in Amazon, we never ask those tricky questions. It's about a trend that we are looking for. We are looking for patterns from what the people. So there's this thing called story-based interviewing. It's not about you prompting an answer on the other person. It's about the person telling what they want to tell, and you, as an active listener, deriving the trends from the story you are listening to. So that's more or less actually the strategy Amazon uses, and I support personally a lot.
Give us an example, just for me to understand, for any kind of job positioning. Sure. What's the storytelling interview?
Now, it is going to start with a very, very broad question, and you will have like 1,000 answers. You will have to just choose one and start talking about a case. Something like, tell me the 2 business achievements you are most proud of. You go into one, you dig into it, you just question and question further. Or tell me about like a big hiring mistake you've made. And then the person tells you about it, but it's about the story. It's just something, a common thing that everyone has experienced, that everyone has an idea about. It's about really understanding which one that person chooses and then going deeper into it. And then when all the questions line up one after the other, there's a trend. So that's how Amazon interview is done. And all those broader questions are structured around the leadership principles. So the leadership principles are not just fancy posters on the walls. They are the common language the organization uses across every different business unit. And it's about really a fit. And those leadership principles, they don't portray a superhero either. They portray a decent person who is able to push back when necessary, who's able to step back when necessary, and who also has all these contradictions, like insist on the high standards, advice for action, like think big, like dive deep. Actually, the message is clear. It just looks for one thing. It looks for good judgment. Assuming that the technical capability we are looking for is there, it's all about good judgment, which requires the smarts anyway, which requires think big sometimes, but sometimes it requires rolling up your sleeves and diving deep, etc. So it's about really good situational judgment. And this is only seen through a trend that you can notice within all the answers. And that's why when preparing for interviews, the one thing I tell each and every person, regardless of their level of seniority, is if you have worked hard, it's not about your fancy education. If you have worked hard and believe that you have made a difference, structure your thoughts and make sure that you somehow deliver those thoughts to the person interviewing you in the most clear, concise way possible. That's all I say. And then leave the rest to the interviewers. It's not about like selling yourself, overselling yourself, or trying to really focus on some flashy things in your background. No, actually what defines you are all these little things that form a trend in the end. That's more or less.
Know how to not to sell your story, but how to tell your story, in fact.
It is very important to structure your thoughts and be able to tell your story in the most structured, organized, clear, without rambling, without going into unnecessary details, but giving all the necessary details and giving the full story, never assuming the person in front of you knows whatever you are telling, the setting, the complexity you were dealing with, the scale scope you were dealing with. Just tell them. But it's about really that a good interviewer is an interviewer that has the portfolio already, not making up anything, but has the portfolio of experience and know-how and is capable of delivering that in the most structured way. That's more or less what we are looking for.
Fascinating. Do you use any kind of psychological analysis tools? You've got all those. My colleague Manon asked me to do the test. It was not what I was expecting, but do you use those kind of tools?
Yes and no. If we are talking about a very technical role, yes, we do test the person's technical capability. But when we are talking about assessing the person's, like, are you green? Are you blue? Are you red personality? No.
Okay.
No. It's the best way of assessing someone's personality is by taking the time, getting to know that person, understanding their different reactions in the different instances in their careers, and then seeing whether there's a fit to the role or not, because there's no good, bad personality. It's just fit or misfit. That's more or less how we look into it. So no psychometric.
Interesting. I will jump quickly because we are running out of time, and then we go to the Q&A. Sina and Natalie, how you guys are running the job interviews, and are you doing the psychological test also for some of your clients? Please go ahead.
I suppose it's very different for us because we don't have one particular culture. We work with a whole diverse range of clients. So we have some fintechs where you need people who are on the ball. We have some local, smaller companies, and you need a different type of person for that. And we work with a lot of traditional banks. So once again, the cultural fit is very different. So with regard to assessment tools, if our client wants us to use an assessment tool, we're quite open, but in conjunction with an interview. For us, we feel that it works very well, but we need to have, a structured interview with that. I don't know what you'd like to add, Natalie.
No, maybe and we can talk about when we recruit for ourselves, because what is really important for us is to assess the motivation of the candidate. We really need to hire people who are passionate about what they do, who are committed, who are motivated. And there are loads of questions we can ask to assess motivation. Because I really think that skills or knowledge can be improved thanks to training, where values, personality, it's really difficult to change. So that's I would ask maybe about us. That
it's very difficult to if I may just say something regarding motivation. I do have very close people to me that are very introverts, and they are the brightest people I know, but you'll never guess they are very motivated because they are introverts. So how you guys are, because somebody's jumping on the table saying, I want the job, compared to somebody that's going to be very, let's say, as I mentioned, introverts, how do you detect that? What are the kind of questions you ask to define motivation?
You ask them about their job, and if you can feel the motivation when they explain their daily tasks, their responsibilities, you feel it. If somebody loves what they do, even an introvert, extrovert, you really feel the passion. For me, it's very clear, in an interview context. Somebody who's quite introvert is not afraid to talk about their passion if they love technology, if they love whatever aspect.
Okay, interesting. Do you have any kind of key question, tricky question that you like to ask Sinad?
We don't try to trick. We try to be very open and try to get the most and get our candidates talking. It really, the questions we ask are really to do with, can the person do the job? Will they do the job with regard to motivation? And will they fit the company culture? So all our questions are based around these three aspects. So yeah, we don't try to trick our candidates.
No, it's not about tricking. It's about asking some unexpected question. And I like the approach of Andy because, you can prepare, but to get the dive in the person, you ask some key question that will push them to think and be very open. In fact, that's the stuff I know that at the LHoFT, to be honest, the kind of question we like to ask, and it's I guess it's from last year. What do you want to be written on your epitaph? How do you want people to be? How do you want you to be remembered by the people you left behind? And it tells you a lot about the person and the motivation in life and what they're doing. And anyway, I like those questions. But what we also do at the LHoFT, we ask candidates, and some of our fintechs are doing that, use cases. You give them a use case they will have to do in a daily job anyway. So you see the result and you can also compare. You are not just based on Q&A session with them regarding the CV. But anyway, that's our approach. One last question, and then we really have to jump on the Q&A. And it's for Sinad and Natalie, because I want to talk a little bit about the future, but I don't know if we have the time. We talk so much about machine learning, AI, robots. How do you see the future of recruitment? How do you see your job? Do you think you're going to be obsolete in 5-10 years? Do you still need recruiters in the future when everything is automatic and maybe an AI algorithm will tell me on the 800 profiles you receive, this one is the perfect fit for your company? What's your thinking about it?
Alex, everything is already automized today. We have an amazing IT system, and we realized with the lockdown that we were more than ready to face, all the situation. And so I think we are already there, but definitely, and maybe I'm very naive, but I think that digital is great, and I'm totally convinced that technology, we need technology everywhere at all levels of the recruitment process. But at the end of the day, personal interaction, it's still really important, and I cannot change my mind about that. So in our world, it's true that maybe it's easier for companies to recruit by themselves, for sure. But there are still small companies who are not able to brand themselves at the right level, and we are the best ambassador for them. There are still confidential recruitment where we are really we still have our place too, and yeah, I think that the network, networking, the relationship we have with our candidates all over the year. I'm in the recruitment. I started more than 20 years ago now, and so often I contact candidates I was in contact 10 years ago, and because I think you have to, because we follow them, we keep contact with them, and especially the last 3 months where we had less jobs, because that's the challenge probably for Luxembourg in the future. So that's my concern more than our role. It's that maybe we could have less job. So what I meant is that we have time to take contact with candidates we had no contact since then. And
thank you so much, Miguel. Maybe you want to add something, because I saw you nodding.
I just wanted to build on what Natalie was saying, is the fact that we see technology for the future of selection and work as a promising god that will come and substitute us. And I do completely agree with her that we need to remember that it's us, the one who will be controlling technology and not the other way around. So definitely the future will be more automatized, will be more optimal in our selection process and in getting the right candidates for the right positions. But in the end, there will be there to support us. And it is our responsibility to make it happen that way and not the other way around.
Perfect. Thank you so much for answering my question. Let's jump to the people online. So we have Theo. Theo, you have a question, please. Can you be very short? It's good because that's your last name. So.
Hi, thanks. It was actually a question for Miguel. So you were talking about your recruitment time frame. And my question really was to ask, are you experiencing any dropout of candidates during that process, if it's taking 2.5 months? Or are you pre-warning candidates up front to say, look, we do have a prolonged recruitment process, but bear with us, and these are the reasons why? Right.
So to answer the two components of the questions, we do pre-warn. And second of all, we do have had dropouts. Nevertheless, this is a very, very, very reduced amount of cases, actually sometimes even beyond, and not due to the fact of the selection process, because in the end, we could not onboard the candidate, for example, because the manpower needs changed. With this, I'm not trying to evade the responsibility of saying that I know that a long process is not effective. I know it, we know it. Nevertheless, it still remains important for us to spend a lot of time evaluating quality rather than speed. If on top of the quality we have speed, voila.
But that's perfect. Very good question, Theo. Thank you so much. And then jumping to another question for Miguel, how do you, and I'm going to ask also Hande, how do you evaluate the quality of your recruitment process? Do you guys have KPIs in place?
Okay, so we do have the metrics of the conversion down the pipeline.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I also think that is important to reflect all the time, especially small companies like us who are all the time on the learning and all the time on volatility. And it is to see retrospectively those candidates that are being the best performance in the positions afterwards. So what did we do in this selection process that actually was sensitive to getting the right candidate for this position, and the person that really performs, stays, adapt, etc. And those are the two indicators. The metrics, of course, that you need to know, and after the follow-up. And finally, in terms of adaptation, what's the good candidate and what's the good performer? Okay, what did we do when we selected this person?
Awesome. Hande, do you at Amazon, do you evaluate your recruitment process?
We do. Actually, there are two different aspects to your question, I think. There is the quality, assessing the quality of the hire, and then there is the assessing the quality of the process. Those are two different things, I think. When assessing the quality of the hire, yes, we can look into so many different things. Time versus the traction versus the pipeline, and then how many transitioned into interview. And then once the person starts, we also look into 3 years retention, whether that person was retained in the organization, grew in the organization, etc. That's the quality of hire piece. But the quality of the process is best assessed by the candidates who were not hired. So actually, the moment they start commenting positively about their experience with the process, then actually we know exactly whether our process works or not, because the quality of the process cannot be assessed by a successful hire and their hiring manager.
But what do? Do you do survey with the people you don't
Yes,
hire?
all the people that go through the interview receive a survey in the end about whether they would be willing to apply again, about how their overall experience was with the recruiter, with the hiring manager, with the overall process, etc. And actually, that matters more to me while assessing the process itself.
And very interesting. Natalie, you want to add something?
Yeah, maybe to say that the candidate experience is key in the recruitment process. So, and I think that improving the candidate experience is a continuous process. We know there is always room for improvement, and most of the time what we do is that to ask in the meetings, in an interview with candidates, how they found the process. Was it enough easy? It's important to give feedback. So just to be able to improve our recruitment process by the feedback we have from them. Interesting. Thank you so much. Very interesting question. Thank you so much, Theo. Let's jump to Stanislas. Stanislas, please, shoot.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all these words, because indeed our market is moving, is changing. The recruitment market is totally different currently. But about the sourcing process, do you think we don't have to continue to headhunt like in the past, like 30 years before? Because indeed we have new tools to use to identify some candidates, to identify some people. But I think for some specific positions, technical positions or executive positions, for example, we need to continue to headhunt people like in the past. I've got an opinion on it. Perhaps
just share your question, Stanislas, because we are running out of time. So we can exchange opinions afterwards.
What is your opinion about the headhunt like in the past, directly, perhaps for...
what do you mean by headhunt? I'm not sure I understand.
To identify people without
how do they identify people?
Tools. Yes, to identify people without using digital tools.
Wow, that's I think it's digital recruitment, the title of this webinar. But if one of the speakers want to take the floor, please go ahead.
Let me try to answer, because I have done executive recruiting all through my career. I don't know to do anything else, actually. And when I started, as many people in recruitment have experienced, many people didn't have emails. Many people didn't have even, like, we were waiting for CVs in front of the fax machine, like lined up. And it was more around like calling people up from their homes, asking from their wives to talk to them, or husbands to talk to them, or moms, whatever, and then just trying to track them down. And then I have experienced the appearance of LinkedIn and everything coming into the picture. AI with regards to selecting the best profiles once you have a huge load of candidates. The thing is, it's, I think, a mix. Knowing traditional way of recruiting gives one thing to the person. You don't fall into the trap of putting in keywords to LinkedIn and then approaching the first 5 people that look relevant. That's the one trap that you can fall into. And whenever, like, someone from a younger that hasn't been through all these ordeals comes to my team, the first thing I say is, tell me about your search strategy. You don't have LinkedIn. What do you do? You don't have any social media. What do you do? So I want them to have that mindset and then go back and utilize all kinds of technology as well, without losing the mental framework and losing themselves in the first 5 people that seem to be relevant per keywords, because they don't know anything about the role, about the market, about the recent developments, mergers, nothing about the market, but then keywords and profiles, which is the most shallow. It's like an insult to recruiting, is how I see it. So that's more or less.
Thank you. Totally agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know what one of the other speakers want to jump. Sina Donat, you want to add something, or it was very clear? Thank you so much. You should have added, and if you are locked down in your house, what do you do? And that's a question I could not answer. Maybe starting calling, everybody from your commune. Thank you so much. Next question from Mattia. Mattia, are you online?
Yes.
Please, Mattia.
Hello everyone. My question is, how do you evaluate candidate resilience? if there are some best practices or anything like that.
Let's jump to our friends. Thank you for your question. Let's jump to Bitflyer. 2.5 months for recruitment. How do you assess resilience?
I only would like, please, if Mattia can clarify a little bit, resilience on what? Resilience on the selection process? Resilience in the adaptation to the work position? Which kind of resilience are we talking about?
Well, I'd say much more on the working position and throughout the job.
Okay, then I would like to bounce this question to Andy, because Andy has the overview of the whole company on what a resilient employee can be. Sometimes these things don't go necessarily through HR, but Andy probably has a very wide view of all employees and all their personal complaints. So, and this is something that in the end is assessed by management.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean, it's very difficult to gauge someone's resilience from like a 60-minute conversation. You may get some clues from talking to them when you're asking them some sort of slightly more open questions, and if you're like pushing them on certain topics, like and you know, to see how they react to that. Sometimes it's clear from their story. When they tell you their story, they can give you stories of resilience, and indeed sometimes I ask them, like as we heard earlier, like storytelling, like give me an example of when you you know, found a problem and what did you do about it, or give me an example of when you showed resilience in the workplace. That is actually a question I've asked. Otherwise, you know, there are telltale signs, like if someone's switched jobs every sort of 6 to 9 months for the last 5 years, then that's obviously a red flag. If they, you know, if they if they feel like they've answered a question badly, like can they recover from that during the course of the interview? Like sometimes I ask people, and I'm surprised how many people fail to answer simple questions like, you know, in our case, like how do we make money? How does Bitflyer make money as a business? You'd think that people would know the answer to that, but so many people turn up and they haven't even studied our basic business model. And then once you explain that to them, you know, do they recover their poise? Do they answer the question, like the rest of the questions, perfectly after that, or do they kind of give up halfway through the interview? There are lots of things that you can hang on, but the short answer is it's not easy, given the limited access we get to people to gauge those types of qualities that you would otherwise only really understand, you know, once they were working for you.
Very, very, very good. Thank you so much, Mattia. I hope it was clear enough for the for your question. Before jumping to the conclusion, I would just like to ask Laurent to join us. Laurent from ADEM. Laurent, are you still with us?
Still living.
Yes, still living. It's good. Welcome, Laurent. So, Laurent, can you quickly, because somebody mentioned ADEM as a job board and how to promote the job openings. What's the role of ADEM? And we work with you guys, and why any company in Luxembourg should work with you and advertise the job openings with ADEM? Please go ahead.
Yeah, well, the job board which was mentioned is in fact our job board where we have all the job seekers, but also all the job openings on it. So everything can be found there. We are now studying how to do a little bit of a remake, because it doesn't really look so sexy, let's say. So we are working on it to make it easier and easier also for people to find something. But of course, what makes it important, or what's the difference if you're working with us together or not, is, well, first of all, it's a legal obligation, even if you don't come out and give you a fine of, I don't know, however it is. But our main aim is to change your opinion that ADEM could not help in your recruitment. Because we have lots of people who maybe have these cross business profiles, maybe not especially now from finance or from IT, but those who can really get into these jobs. And I think we can offer so many helps to companies and to job seekers or people to get a new job or their new employee, let's say financial helps and everything, so that it is really a plus to work with us together. And you will be dedicated a special advisor in our department who will be responsible only for your company.
So reach out to Laurent. Thank you so much, Laurent. We will share your contact details with everybody who was on the call today. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for your hard work. I know it's getting harder and harder every day in today's condition. Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to our listeners. I will just give the mic to Anthony for the closing, and maybe we also have a very special program for you guys. If you want to work for companies like Bitflyer, for some of our fintechs, we have a special program for you. So Anthony, please, the mic is yours.
Yes. First of all, thank you very much to all of you, to all the speakers, to all the participants for having been with us on an exclusive masterclass on the art of digital recruitment. A little bit about our LHoFT Digital Valley. So this Friday, we welcome Thierry Labro, who's one of the most polarizing figures in the space of journalism, for a fantastic session on the do's and don'ts when dealing with journalists. Next week, we'll be hosting Salina Young, who's an expert on LinkedIn lead generation. She posted an article this morning with over 1,000 likes and countless shares, which is impressive. So you can learn how to do it. We'll also host in the upcoming weeks Aram Matar, VC researcher, teacher, YouTuber, who's going to teach you on the bulletproof elevator pitch. You would like to learn how to create a fantastic business model canvas. Theo Papasteronis is the man. In about 2 weeks' time, you can listen to him live and ask questions. We have also promised you to bring you the biggest names in fintech. We will be hosting next week Nigel Verdon, who's one of the main open banking leader in Europe. Henry Arsalian will be part of the Global Leader Series as well. He has over 500,000 followers on LinkedIn. We'll also bring on board Nick Ogden, who's the founder of e-commerce. So much to be promised. We're also going to send you a link to a 1-minute survey that we also I'll invite you to take. Please help us to get better and help us to serve you with better delivery. 1 more minute. We are launching the Digital Finance Luxembourg Digital Finance Academy today. It's going to be a fantastic 1-week program where people from the financial services industry are going to learn about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. They will be working over the course of 1 week on fantastic use cases with leading entrepreneurs, leading fintech entrepreneurs, and we'll send you the information about the program in the newsletter that you're going to receive after the webinar in about 1 hour time. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Hande, Natalie, Sinead, Andy, and Miguel. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. It was extremely interesting for me. I hope it was for you as a listener. And talk to you very soon. Keep safe, stay home if you can stay, and see you on Friday for the session with Thierry. Thank you so much. Have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Hello everyone, my name is Nathalie Delebois.
My name is Hande Günger.
Sinead O'Donnell.
My name is Andy Bryant. In less than 60 minutes, we'll discuss how companies need to pivot their recruitment strategies.
From the initial job advertising,
Processing application.
Candidate pre-selection.
And most importantly, the job interview.
to the final hiring processes.
I'm also looking forward to taking your questions on our live Q&A.